All right, we're back. Oh, you know, this streaming looks easy enough, but tougher than you think. Okay, first things first here. I had a little issue there. Left the audio on my other computer here. So here we are. Can you hear me? That's my first question of the day here. Can you hear me right now? Anybody, can you hear me? Check 1, 2, check 1. Okay, I'm looking on the chat room here and seeing if, let's just go do something here. Okay, I'm going to, pardon me, we'll get this all sorted out here in a second. And let's make sure we've got our Hangar chat here. No, we do not. Let's go put a new chat window in here. There we are. All right. Yep, we can hear you. Okay, thank you, folks, and thank you for your patience here. So much easier flying that plane than it is doing this thing here today. So let me get rid of that chat room. First off, I want to thank a few of the folks that we got to see. We got Bilal, Salim, 5, loud and clear, great. Rally MX is all good. So let's go back just to the grizzly old host here. All right, as I mentioned, if we missed it at the beginning, my name is Steve Rennie. I am the Ren Baron, and this is my Ren Baron Learning to Fly YouTube channel. I thought it'd be kind of fun today to kill a little time here and do a little live webcast and show you the new video that I'm going to be putting up here. Right now, I've been had no plane for the last couple months, so I'm actually going a little wacky here. So thought it'd be fun to get together and actually talk a little shop here while I'm waiting to get my plane back in here. So let me give you a little setup on today's video here. First, let me get it all set up here and make sure we're ready to go here. As you know, if you've been watching my channel, my wife and I did a trip earlier this year to Mexico, specifically when we went to the Yucatan Peninsula, Merida, and then after that, we went to Cozumel. When we were in Merida, it was a really wonderful experience here. We had a chance to go and see a lot of the Mayan ruins and stuff, and it's quite amazing what those folks have managed to do, you know, out there in the middle of the jungle. You know, you see these pyramids out there, and it's pretty spectacular stuff. And obviously not the only pyramids in the world. Their pyramids were out in Egypt, and those were pretty spectacular as well. But for the folks out in Egypt, I'm sure it took a lot of people, but they were out in the middle of flat sand. When you stand out in the middle of the jungle, out there in the Yucatan Peninsula, and try to imagine people pushing all these rocks to get them up on the, assembled into a pyramid. It's pretty amazing stuff. So anyway, I'm going to thank a couple of folks here. Let's go back over to, back here for 1 second to the Hangar chat. All right, so here's what we're going to do today. First off, good to know the sound is working. Pardon that little, brief diversion there. I'm going to play you the video today. I'm going to post it, I think about 9:45 today, so you can just watch it on your own here. But today I'm going to play you the video that I've been working on here. I'll ask for your forgiveness for how long it takes me to get these things done. I'm not a great video editor, and I'm certainly not a very fast video editor, but I like to get them just right where there's a little bit of a lesson to be learned in there. And my experience has been is every single flight I take, there's a lesson to learn. And so when I have a chance to do a video, I want to make sure that it gets that point across. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to play the video for you today, and then I'll take some questions at the end if any of you are contemplating a trip to Mexico. I've got a lot of information, kind of boring information that I've been meaning to put into a video, which I just haven't done yet, but has lots of information about what you have to do if you go down to Mexico. It's a little bit of a process, but was worthwhile in the end here. So now let me see if I can get all this stuff together here, gentlemen, and we're going to start the video here. It's about 20-25 minutes, so got my cup of coffee. I hope you can get one too. It's a beautiful Sunday morning out here in Los Angeles, so when you post in the chat room there, if you're so inclined, tell me where you're dialing in from. That would be great to know. The beauty of the web, doesn't matter where we live. We can all find a way to hook up here. So now let me go over to my video section here and see if we can get this together. If not, you'll just forgive me and I'll figure it out here. Okay, so we're going to head over to the video and we're going to get it started here right now. And again, in the chat room, if you can just let me know that you're hearing the video properly. Here we go. Minatitlan to Merida. Good morning, my name is Steve Rennie. I am the Ren Baron, and this is my Ren Baron Learning to Fly YouTube channel. Now, if you recall from the first video, we started our day in Brownsville, Texas, and after a little bit of a shaky start, we kind of settled into our flight down to Minatitlan. Now, once we'd arrived in Minatitlan, we had two things to do. Number one, we were going to refuel our planes, and number two, we were going to clear customs and immigration. Now, as you likely noticed on the last video, flying in Mexico is a little bit different than flying in the U.S. And it turns out that the customs and immigration process is a little bit different as well. The pace of the process is a lot more leisurely. There are a lot more people working the process, and there's much more reliance on paper rather than technology. That being said, all the folks were incredibly friendly and they made us feel welcome. On today's video, we're going to be flying leg 2 of our trip to Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula specifically. We'll be flying from Minatitlan Airport to Merida. We're going to Good morning, my name is Steve Rennie. I am the Ren Baron, and this is my Ren Baron Learning to Fly YouTube channel. Now, if you recall from the first video, we started our day in Brownsville, Texas, and after a little bit of a shaky start, we kind of settled into our flight down to Minatitlan. Now, once we'd arrived in Minatitlan, we had two things to do. Number one, we were going to refuel our planes, and number two, we were going to clear customs and immigration. Now, as you likely noticed on the last video, flying in Mexico is a little bit different than flying in the U.S. And it turns out that the customs and immigration process is a little bit different as well. The pace of the process is a lot more leisurely. There are a lot more people working the process, and there's much more reliance on paper rather than technology. That being said, all the folks were incredibly friendly and they made us feel welcome. On today's video, we're going to be flying leg 2 of our trip to Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula specifically. We'll be flying from Minatitlan Airport to Merida. We're going to be on an IFR flight plan at 11,000 feet, and our route is going to take us along the Gulf of Mexico. Now, as I've mentioned before, flying a cross-country trip, and particularly flying a cross-country trip into another country, really pushes the envelope of your comfort zone. Some of the things that you're very comfortable with here in the States may not be there when you get to Mexico, and you'll just have to figure it out on the fly. Minatitlan to Merida. Come along for the ride. Now, in the interest of keeping the video length manageable today, I'm going to skip most of the pre-flight procedures, but I wanted to focus on a couple of those things that are different about flying in Mexico. Now, when we were first planning our trip, one of the things that concerned me was the language barrier. In Mexico, they were going to be speaking primarily Spanish. Obviously, we're speaking English here in America. But it turns out that the language alone wasn't the issue. The terminology of things in Mexico is a little bit different than I'd been used to in the United States, and it caused a little bit of a problem for me right out of the box.
Tower, Cirrus 768 Foxtrot Sierra, ready to taxi, runway 01.
November 768 Fox Sierra, runway 01. QNH 30.09ers, taxi via Alpha, line up and wait.
Can you give me, sorry, can you say that again, please?
November 768 Fox Sierra, runway 01. QNH 30.09er, taxi via Alpha, line up and wait, runway 01.
Alpha. Okay. Runway 01, Q9, 0.9. I'm not sure I know what that means. Can I ask what that means?
Altimeter setting 30.09er.
3009. Thank you so much, 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
Now, I'm going to be honest, at that point I felt like the dumbest human being on the planet, but it just goes to show you that every place is a little bit different. In America, we say tomato. In England, they say tomato. In America, we say altimeter. In the rest of the world, they say QNH, where we're used to hearing 3039. In Mexico, it's 30. Back taxi here in the United States. Here in Minatitlan, and in fact on the other 3 airports we landed in Mexico, we did back taxiing to take off. Unlike the United States, where almost every runway I can think of has a parallel taxiway, in Mexico it's a little bit different, as you can see on the chart here from Minatitlan. Instead of parallel taxiways, you have a couple on-ramps to each side of the runway, and from there you'll just back taxi to the end that you're going to take off on. At the end of the day, I guess it's no different taxiing down the runway than it is taxiing down the taxiway, but it's just another reminder that so many of the things that we take for granted here in America are different when you travel outside the country. Minatitlan and Merida and Cozumel and Veracruz are all big international airports where big commercial airliners are landing all the time. So you can bet as I pull out onto the runway to back taxi, I'm going to make sure one's not coming my way.
Okay, right.
Tower 267, Charlie Papa. Charlie is also ready to depart.
All the way in.
November 267, Charlie Papa, you're ready to taxi?
Affirmative, ready to taxi.
November 267, Charlie Papa, runway 01, QNH 30.09er.
009er, okay.
Roger, contact Merida Center on 128.3.
1283, thank you so much. 85 shots here. Okay, we're looking for 2036 at our best gaps. Flight level change, let's go 120. Okay, climb checklist, oxygen not required yet. Power lever is full forward. Last we verified are up. Airspeed's 120-ish. Fuel flow is 38, that's good. Engine parameters are all green, which are tanks here. Cruise checklist, and back to the map. Merida approach, Cirrus 768, Foxtrot Sierra, 4,400, climbing 11,000.
Roger, November 768, Foxtrot Sierra, squawk on 6470 and continue climb to 11,000 feet.
Squawking 6470, climbing 11,000, 8 Foxtrot Sierra. Alright, I'm going to try this little thing right here, huh? Because you're going to get that sun coming in off those wings. So if we can just try one of those there, or just put it in the window, it's like, there you go. You got to press in the plastic in there, there you go. Make it a little bit less sunny for you.
November 768, Foxtrot Sierra, radar contact 12 miles from Minatitlan, continue climb to 11,000 feet.
Climbing 11,000, 8 Foxtrot Sierra. They have ATIS at Merida, it looks like. That's nice to see. Go on to our little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now. We'll get that set. Okay, almost at 9,000. Okay, there's 11. Let's get our climb checklist, cruise checklist. Got your oxygen ready yet?
I will, yeah.
Well, we're going to put oxygen on, not technically required, but we're going to put it on here. Do a cruise altitude, power levers back to 75. Mixture's adjusted, engine parameters are good. We should see these start to go down here a little bit. It's starting to go down, that's good. Engine parameters good. Mixture's good. Next one will be our descent checklist. Back to the map.
768 Foxtrot Sierra, you have 3009 coordinates for Villahermosa.
3009, 8 Foxtrot Sierra, thank you.
You are welcome, sir. Please contact now on 120.9.
Been a nice flight so far. What do you think, Brandy?
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Brandy's been noting the turquoise water here.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Did we
Okay.
get some Merida information?
Let's go put it in there at 127.9, and then this tower is 118.3. Let's see if we can pick it up.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that we couldn't get the ATIS on the radio, so we decided to call ahead to one of the Cirrus pilots in front of us.
Thomas is 50 miles ahead of us, so he's probably Thomas, Cirrus Pilot Thomas, Steve Rennie here. Do you have a weather report for Merida?
I have weather, wind 120 at 11 knots, 7 statute miles, broken at 2,500.
Thank you. 120, 11, 2,500.
November 239 Whiskey Romeo and 67 Charlie Papa, Merida weather report, 120 degrees, 11 knots, visibility 7 miles, broken 2,500 feet, QNH in Merida, 3005, VNC conditions.
Thank you, sir. 267 Charlie Papa.
20 and 11, see what runway here. Runway GPS for 10, ILS, runway 10.
November 768 Fox Sierra.
768 Foxtrot Sierra here.
768 Fox Sierra. Please contact Merida approach on 121.2. 21.2, radar terminated. Bye-bye.
121.2, thank you so much, 8 Foxtrot Sierra. Buen dia.
Buen dia, enjoy here in Merida.
Thank you so much. 121.2. Merida approach, Cirrus 768 Foxtrot Sierra, level 11, 11,000.
Roger 8 Fox Sierra, good afternoon, sir. QNH 30.04. Now report 15 miles from Merida.
Report 15 miles from Merida.
And expect the runway induced 10.
Expect 10, 8 Foxtrot Sierra, thank you. 15 miles, we gotta be getting us down here a little bit.
Let's ask so we don't have to take a deep dive.
Procedures here, select approach.
As I scroll through the approaches for runway 10, I see that there are ILS localizer DME approaches, GPS approaches, VOR DME approaches, and VOR approaches. In general, I prefer GPS approaches. So as I scroll through these approaches, my eyes gravitated toward the GPS approach. However, I missed an important point here, and that is that the GPS approaches were RNP approaches, and you can't fly those in a Cirrus.
RNAV GPS is what I'm going to ask for here. Merida approach says Cirrus 768 Foxtrot Sierra. Quick question, please.
Go ahead, sir.
Can I get the RNAV GPS approach to 10?
Confirm, sir, the RMT approach?
Yeah, GPS approach for runway 10.
Right there, the light goes on.
Okay, sir, expect then the RMT approach for runway 10, report 20 miles.
Report 20 miles. Are you going to be getting me lower here shortly?
Then to 5,000.
Descend to 5,000. 8 Foxtrot Sierra, thank you.
And the light went on for the controller too. No bueno on the GPS.
And November 768 Foxtrot Sierra.
Roger, 768 Foxtrot Sierra here.
Sorry, sir, I think that you were flying visual. Now you're clear to the Merida VOR via Victor 3 and expect the ILS DME2 approach runway 10, report 15 DME, sir.
Okay, I'll expect the ILS DME 2, is it? And then report 15 miles.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, so back to the flight plan here. Okay, let's go slow it down here.
And what?
ILS E2, he said.
Now, picking the approach was pretty easy, but selecting that transition looked a lot tougher. When you're flying in the US and loading an approach, you'll get a few different transitions. On today's flight, there were 25 different transitions to choose from. For me, that means I'll likely overthink this thing to death. Now, if I've learned anything in my short stint as a pilot, it's that if you don't know, better to ask.
Merida approach 768 Foxtrot Sierra. What will be my transition into the ILS-2?
At 10 DME arc, sir.
10 DME arc. Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome, sir. Merida approach.
Okay, I got my answer, but it still leaves me with 12 different transitions.
4,000.
So I pull out my trusty iPad and try to figure it out. Now, as you can see here on the chart for the ILS DME2 for runway 10, there are a number of different options to choose from. So after considering all the options, I chose XO Loro.
I think I got the right one, but we'll find out here.
But it didn't take long for me to realize that this one just didn't feel right, and I was probably making it tougher than it needed to be, and here's why. As you'll recall, the controller had cleared me direct to Merida on the Victor 3 airway. What I should have done if I was thinking properly is just locate Victor 3 on the chart, which you can see right here. What you'll also notice is that there's a waypoint called VOLAB in front of that DME arc. And if we look on the MFD, you'll see that VOLAB is already listed in the flight plan. So selecting VOLAB as my transition meant all I had to do was keep flying the plane straight. Selecting XO LORO means that I'd be making a premature turn to the left. Now in retrospect, it shouldn't have taken me that long to figure it out, but the moral of the story is this. If something doesn't feel right, just keep working the problem until it does.
It's VOLAB might be my best. VOLAB is where I want to get into this. Okay, that makes sense. That's on our flight plan here. That's where it is here, and then it picks it up. Okay, now we got it. Okay. Over VOLAB, bing. Here it is right here. It's a lot of stuff.
Wow, okay.
We want 15 miles. VOLAB is 13 miles from, so we'll let it know when we're a little bit closer to VOLAB here.
267 Charlie Papa is 70 DME to the airport.
20 miles, sir.
20 miles. 267 Charlie Papa and 03 on altimeter.
No longer required. Let's turn that on.
Correct.
Altimeter is 3003, she said.
Correct.
We're landing. There you go. Enter.
Enter map.
There's where it picks up, and then it turn around on that thing. Okay, so we're going to activate the approach here.
If possible, reduce the speed, sir.
Reduce speed and send me a number 4 and then it's over.
You want to be 3,000 at VOLAB. Merida approach, Cirrus 76815 from Merida, approaching the VOLAB fix.
I confirm your call sign, sir.
768 Foxtrot Sierra.
Radar sir, report now 15 DME.
15 DME 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
And descend to 3,000 feet.
Descend 3,000 8 Foxtrot Sierra, thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Welcome, sir.
The minimum is set to 30. What's going to be our missed approach here is...
And 56 Lima Lima.
Should have been nice to have done on the sim, but sorted out here.
That little bell is our reminder that we're approaching 3,000 feet now. And a couple of minutes later, we're going to reach our reporting point for Merida.
Merida approach, Cirrus 768 Foxtrot Sierra 15 out.
Sir, now make the ILS DME2 approach for runway 10 and now report turning final.
Okay, I'll be entering the DME approach and I'll report final 8 Foxtrot Sierra. That means we're cleared for the approach here, so...
So now I'll arm the approach.
Have another 2,000 here.
And set my altitude select for 2,000 at the DME.
And 68 Foxtrot Sierra, sir, I just confirm. Continue descent as published.
I'm continuing my descent down to 2,000 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
That's correct.
And there's our bell for 2,000 as we turn into the DME arc.
Turn left to 312 right now. Whew. Yeah, keep an eye out for traffic on now. We've got the spots here. Let's just pay attention here. We're going to do a big arc into here. Yeah, we got a Cirrus, that's all I can see. Okay, now let's go full mixture here, hon.
You want to turn the autopilot off?
No, not yet. No,
Okay.
God, no.
Okay.
We got to follow this arc in here. Keep an eye on the traffic. There's got one out here on the left. Landing line is on, mixture's full. Flaps are going to wait till we make that turn and come into flaps. We got.
Now, as we approach the end of the DME arc, let's take a look at the scorecard. We're at 2,000 feet as required, which matches our VNAV reference altitude, which is displayed in magenta. We're flying in GPS mode, and the approach has been activated as indicated by the white GS in the right corner. And finally, you'll notice that we have the localizer approach in standby because we're flying an ILS approach. Once we make that turn onto the final approach course and start heading for the final approach fix, I'll be expecting that CDI needle to turn green and the localizer to go active.
Okay, so we're going to land on 10 and taxi back on Delta and the Bravo all the way back. All right, Merida in sight. There's the runway, I see it now. Turn right to 105 in 7 seconds. There's the turn for 105.
Vertical track.
As we turn onto the final approach course, the VNAV reference altitude changes to 1700, and we get an annunciation to remind me to set my altitude select to 1700, and then activate VNAV.
Here it is, all right. Here we go, once we're gonna get off on Delta or Bravo and then back to the terminal. Okay, now mixture is full, we're gonna stay with it now. Pick up the glide path here in a second. Top of descent, 16 seconds.
Now at this point it seems like I have everything set for landing except one thing. Let's see if you can figure it out. Did I hear somebody say you forgot to report you're on final?
8 Foxtrot Sierra position.
We are on final now, Foxtrot Sierra.
Yes, sir, now contact Merida Tower on 118.3. Good day, sir.
118.38, Foxtrot Sierra.
Al 400, código 65.
Autorizados a Acapulco por la Merida 4 Alfa, juguete 16 a Oaxaca, 16 a Acapulco, 7000 pies, nuevo aviso. 6560, el código de la pista 10, el Delta Mike Romeo.
Nuevo Delta Mike Romeo, colación correcta, 7000 inicial, 400 final, llame listo a rodar.
Así lo haremos.
Merida Tower, Cirrus 768 Foxtrot Sierra on final for ILS 10.
Number 768 Foxtrot Sierra, good afternoon, runway 10, wind 120 degrees, 12 knots, QNH 3004, clear to land.
Clear to land, 3004, thank you. Okay.
There we go. Now as we close in on that final approach fix, I'm expecting to see that needle turn green any moment now.
Wait for the glide slope to pick up here. We should get the glide slope here in a second.
One of the things that attracted me to our Cirrus in the first place was its state-of-the-art technology. But one of the problems with technology, whether it's in your car, your iPhone, or your airplane, is sometimes it doesn't work, and when it doesn't, you're going to be on your own.
Yeah, we're not getting it though. Okay, now we're going to take the autopilot off.
Now, I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm damn sure that wasn't the time to try to figure it out. So when in doubt, if something's not working, I'm going to turn off the autopilot and try to figure it out later. If you've got some thoughts about what went wrong, please post them in the comments below and I'll check them later. In the meantime, I'm going to fly the plane.
Put some flaps in here. Yours are in?
They're just popping.
And Tower 56 Lima Lima needs progresses to customs.
Continue to the front of you and behind of the jets, you will follow the marshal instructions. There's 2 persons behind the jets.
All right, past this first row of jets, turn right.
Correct.
There's 2 miles. Let's put our last flaps in here.
500.
A little high, correcting. Let's get her down here.
¿Me podría confirmar última temperatura para el Delta Mike Romeo?
32 grados.
Muchas gracias.
Minimums.
Continuing approach.
I want to thank you for joining us on the flight today. If you like this video, I hope you'll click that thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like this, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. My name is Steve Rennie. I am the Ren Baron, and this is my Ren Baron Learning to Fly YouTube channel.
November 768 Foxtrot Sierra, vacate via Delta Bravo, clear to cross 1836 and hold short of Alpha.
Bravo, hold short, 1836, and short of Alpha.
Merida Tower, Cirrus 267 Charlie. Right on Delta and then Bravo and hold short.
Well done.
Mexico, Merida. I'm tired, folks. I'm out.
Okay, excuse me there. That's Minatitlan to Merida. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to stick around if you got some questions here. I see but there's a bunch of them in the chat room. Somebody flip that up here so we can see it. Hangar chat. All right, let's go see if we can answer some questions now. So let me scroll up to the top here and see what we've got. One of the first questions was, did she give QNH in hectopascal? She gave it in inches at the end of the day. That was one, it's funny, you get used to this stuff, happening the way you want it to happen. So in America, everything is very short and sweet and so forth. And honest to God, as lame as it sounds, up until that lady was mentioning, QNH, I had no idea what the heck she was talking about. And it kind of stumped me there for a second. The way they give you the altimeter setting here in the States, it's always easy. 3039, 3006, whatever it is. That little decimal in there with the accent, it was just enough to kind of get me out of my sweet spot there and get me messed up here. Okay, let's see if there's a couple other questions. First of all, I want to thank all you guys for joining me here today. It was good stuff. Gabriel Hayek says, pitching down too much, aren't you? Don't know what section you're actually looking at because the video is lagging a little bit behind. What you're seeing is a little bit behind what I am. So, but I'm going to say no, I don't think I was pitching down too much. I got to put it right on the money there at the end. So that's that's I think the best indicator for me. Did you figure out why the green needles didn't kick in? I was hoping somebody would ask that, Anthony. Excuse me for a second. I called up a number of my Cirrus, much more experienced pilots than myself. My old instructor, former salesperson at Cirrus, Liz DeStaffany. I called another Cirrus buddy of mine, Mr. Al Waterloo, who, if you're looking to buy a Vision Jet, he's your man. Thank you, Iman. And walked them through the whole scenario. And none of us could actually quite figure out what it was that was going on. The speculation on the part of the two professionals was that perhaps there was some issue with the ILS signal there at the airport. Don't know if that was the case or not. In retrospect, it's always kind of interesting watching the video after the fact because you think of all the things that you should have done. What I should have done was just switch the needle manually and see if that picked it up. Fortunately, it was a clear day out there in Merida, and as much as I love working with the Perspective Plus system and trying to master it to its fullest extent, I've learned when it's not going the way it's supposed to, and you know, don't obsess over, just fly the plane, which is what I did here. So that's the green needle scenario. I also spoke to my friend, Mr. Ed Waters. If you watch any of my videos, you're probably familiar with that. He is literally like a walking Garmin manual, and he suspected that there was some issue there perhaps with the ILS, but also gave me a couple things that I probably could have done, you know, to make it a little bit right. If you look at that plate, you'll notice that I was flying GPS until the end, and there was a GPS waypoint before we actually got on the final approach course, before we got to the final approach fix. And because there was a step down in there, he thought that might have had something to do with it. To cure it, I could have probably set an active leg and gone at it that way. But it didn't happen. I have a simulator set up here in my office, which I'm sitting at right now, which you can't see. And I went back and I flew it on the sim, which is terrific, but it's not exactly the same as the Perspective Plus system. And when I flew it on the sim, it picked up, when we turned onto the course here and got down right in front of the final approach fix, the needle did switch to green and did exactly what it was supposed to do. Okay, here's another great question here. Schwimster, what was customs like? I think I described a little bit of it, you know, of our experience here, and I'll just give you a little bit of background. Our experience in Merida, or in Minatitlan, was actually pretty good. We were met out there on the tarmac with a number of immigration officers, right? I will say that in general, no matter what part of the immigration process we were going through, there was a lot more people working that process in Mexico than you would see here in America. And I'll post a video of our flight back in, or the leg from Veracruz into McAllen, Texas, where we re-entered the country here. But lots of immigration folks. We even had 2 dogs, very nice dogs, sniffing our plane. But when you go through the whole process, and keeping in mind that we actually had a tour guide with us, a guy who'd been down there a number of times to help kind of shepherd us through it. Everybody was really nice, but things went, I say it leisurely, you know, if I'm being really honest, it was kind of excruciatingly slow by American standards, certainly standards here in LA, where everything's moving too fast. But what was striking to me was how many pieces of paper we had happening there, right? And how different pieces of paper would move, not from one person all the way through, but piece of paper from this person hands to this person, who hands to this person, and so forth. So it made the process kind of tedious. When we went back, the final step was going back with the immigration officer, and you went back to this room where they had old, and I say old, Dell PCs back there, and I'm looking at the network setup going, geez, I got a better setup in my office here. So it was kind of tricky, and from there, we had to go through this process almost every step of the way. And on another leg of the flight from Merida to Chichen Itza, which is a little smaller airport, we went through the whole process again, and I wound up giving my documents to this guy. I was the last one off the ground, got very, you know, getting behind the curve here. So I'd been instructed not to give original copies to anybody in the immigration process from our guide, Thomas. I didn't take his advice, so I gave, you know, some original documents to the guy in Chichen Itza, got back in my plane. The guy hands me a stack of papers. I get in my plane, go to the next stop in Cozumel, only to find that the guy had not handed me back one of my original documents, and that was a whole kerfuffle going there. Got amped out to the max here. Had to find somebody to call up the head guy back there at Chichen Itza because they swore they didn't have it, and I said, just ask the guy to look on the copier, and sure enough, the document was there. Long story short, it got delivered to me the next day, but it was frustrating to say the least, but not nearly as frustrating as when we got back to Veracruz on the last stop in Mexico, where, you know, one of the guys noticed that something that was on my document at the top of the document didn't match what was at the bottom of the document, right? Nobody else had noticed until the end. And so we wound up spending 3.5 hours on the ground in Veracruz. And I didn't actually think we were going to get off the ground. And so that was really frustrating. And finally, you know, we left Veracruz, and I was very happy to get back to the United States. So anyway, did you think switching over manually to green needles with the CDI? I think I just covered that. I didn't think about it at the time because it was a clear view of the runway. At that point, it was just kind of, you know, a perspective wank at that point because I was going to take it off of autopilot anyway. But in retrospect, I wish I had hit the green, hit the CDI myself. But typically, in the Cirrus Perspective Plus, in my Gen 6 at least, it automatically switches over. So it didn't do that. And as I mentioned previously, I've just learned not to obsess about what didn't happen, just kind of focus on what needs to happen from there forward. I hear that many airports outside the U.S. don't have avgas, but obviously you knew ahead of time. All of the airports that we went to, we had done a little advanced homework, you know, to make sure there was fuel available. Interestingly enough, this was just as the fuel prices were starting to go up. The Russians invaded Ukraine while we were in Cozumel, and so the impact of that hadn't played out yet, but we all know how that's playing out today. But punchline is the fuel in Mexico was cheaper than it was in America here. It was, again, one of those reminders that, you know, we think in America everybody does it the way we do it, but the truth of the matter is we're the ones that typically do it different than everybody else. So we had to do some, you know, arithmetic in liters to gallons and so forth and so on, which is very confusing and makes me want to say, hey, let's just go with the rest of the world on this and go with centimeters and gallons or in liters. It's just easier for everybody. But the fuel wasn't really a problem there at all. Evan McGillicuddy says, I ran a 2006 SR22 GT. Does your G6 have any changes in the spring loading force on the side stick? Well, since I've never flown anything but that G6 and haven't flown a G2, I don't know. I suspect not. I've been told that the planes are, other than the avionics, by and large, are pretty much the same. I know on the G6s, or starting with the G5 or G6, the plane, the nose is a little bit higher. There's some subtle changes on the G6, but don't know, Evid, on that one. I'm not sure about that, so I won't want to speak to that. Let's see if there's any other questions in here. That's about it. Anybody else got a question? This thing always lags a little behind, so I feel I'm going to stretch a little bit here. While I'm seeing if anybody else has got any other questions, I want to thank all you guys for supporting my channel. It's been fun. I'm not trying to be a YouTube star. I post these videos just because it's a good way for me to recap my own experience in the plane and learn from it. And video, for me, has been a very powerful tool in terms of learning. Strangely enough, while I haven't had a plane for almost 2 months now, you know, going through the videos is a reminder of the proper procedures. God, if you want to actually get stuff drilled into your head, go edit a video of your over shoulder of all the procedures you're doing, and they'll be forever singed into your mind here. It's been fun doing it, so it's fun to see that people are enjoying them. Schwimser asks, were you concerned about security at all? Not really, honestly. I think there's places in LA I'm more worried about driving through than when we were in Mexico. I will say this, the security guys at the airports in Mexico are heavily armed. They're all kind of dressed in black, and it's kind of an intimidating look, but they were everywhere, and so that was our reminder that probably they have some issues over there as well. But Mexico in general, for all of my trepidation about going down there, was actually very tame, very civil, very friendly, and and very easy. Just the things that kind of stood out for me were the things that probably wouldn't have stood out if I hadn't started learning to fly here, you know, in Southern California, where it's busy and crazy and traffic everywhere. It's very quiet up there in the air in Mexico by LA standards. The little thing I talked about, the back taxi, you know, I can't imagine back taxiing down the runway at LAX, you know, without thinking you're going to get mowed over by a jet. But even at Minatitlan Airport, where we took off, and even in Merida, where there are international airports, when we landed in Minatitlan, we were the 7 or 8 Cirrus pilots that land there. We were the only people on the ground. That was it. So it was pretty quiet, certainly by U.S. standards. How many hours did you fly from the U.S. to your end destination? Well, Anthony, that's a great question. It was we flew from L.A. to El Paso, and then, or not El Paso, I think it was Deming, now that I think about it. And so it was about 6 hours, I want to say 6-7 hours of flying time to Brownsville, and then it was about 6.5 hours from Brownsville to Minatitlan and then to Merida. So it was a good day of flying. A little bit less, I think, than it took us to get from LA to Brownsville. So you flew over Sierra Madre. Any challenges with weather worth commenting? We had, no, the weather was actually really nice down there. There were some storms, you know, around Mexico, but not where we were on the coast there. When we landed in Minatitlan, if you saw my previous video, we had you know, it was an IFR, but it wasn't the most torturous IFR I've been into. My wife and I have been through some IFR that was character building. I recall flying into Oklahoma City, and a couple of those videos I posted from our U.S. trip were much more attention-getting, but you know, it was easy enough. And flying in a Cirrus is when you really, if you're flying in a Cirrus, is when you really appreciate what an amazing plane it is if you're flying an IFR. On our way to Merida, we had some clouds on the way up. We were pretty much above the clouds, and it was, you know, pretty much a great view the whole way. A little bit coming through the clouds down there. There's a little bit of terrain, but it was pretty far away from the airport. And as you could see on the approach in there, it was pretty much straight in, flat, because it was near the coastline. So fortunately, across the whole of Mexico, we didn't really get any ugly weather, and frankly, we didn't get any ugly weather on the way back from McAllen, Texas, where we went to McAllen, El Paso, and then back to LA. The only problems I had, and why it's kind of taken me a bit to edit up some of these videos, is technical issues with cameras and audio and stupid stuff, you know, that makes editing the videos frustrating at times. So if anybody knows some young kid that's got video editing chops out here in LA that might be interested in trading a little video editing for some hours in a Cirrus, I'd be happy to hear from that person. So, all right, gentlemen, it's almost 10 o'clock. I think the video, the proper video of this, if you want to see it again, is posting at 9:45 or 10 o'clock. Any final questions here? I'll wait about 30 seconds for the lag, and then I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to close up shop and then go out and play a little golf here today. So anyway, I guess that's it. All right, gents. Let me go back to just the host. My name is Steve Rennie. I am the Ren Baron. This is my little Ren Baron Learning to Fly YouTube channel. It's been fun hanging with you guys this morning, talking shop, and I hope to be back up in the air soon in my own Cirrus. Until then, I'll be making believe here on my Cirrus sim setup here today. And so anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'm going to go back over here and put this baby to bed. So have a great weekend, gentlemen, and good flying and safe flying to you out there. Take it. See you later.